There are so many famous and great quotes said by NBA players. Some are inspirational, some are funny, some even turn into memes. But sometimes, the things they say are just dumb. What's going on, everybody? It's Handles, and we like to go back and remind ourselves of the great things players have said in the past. Like when the reporter asked Paul Pierce if he called bank.
The game on the line. Did you call bank? I called game.
When Bill Russell said, the idea is not to block every shot. The idea is to make your opponent believe that you might block every shot. Or even these ones where it's just funny.
I know you were frustrated at how the officiating went down the stretch there, but you guys pulled it out and it was a big win.
David Stern wonder why the league is losing money. That's why. People pay good money to come watch these athletes play and they try to take over the game.
Shaq, we're on live. I know.
But with all these great quotes, there are some that just make you say, what? Of course, I could go through hours and hours of footage of someone like Skip, or really any media member. But for this video, I will just stick with NBA players. So anyways, here's a list of dumb things players have said in the past. After getting drafted number 2 overall by the Dallas Mavericks in 1994, Jason Kidd said something inspirational, to say the least. He said, "Now that I'm here, we're going to turn this team around 360 degrees. If only he knew a 360-degree angle was a complete circle." Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant players of all time, always had some fun things to say throughout his career, and he's on TNT now because of this. But back when he was dominating, Shaq said this: "There's no answer for my offense, just like the Pythagorean theorem." Unfortunately for Shaq, there is an answer to that. In spirit of the 2019 NBA Finals, after losing to the Raptors in Game 3 at home, Draymond said, "Fun times ahead."
Happy to hurt. We just got to continue to battle and win the next game, go back to Toronto, win Game 5, come back to Oracle, win Game 6, and then celebrate. Fun times ahead.
And also in the middle of this regular season, when the Warriors were having chemistry problems, Draymond said this to Durant: "We don't need you, we won one without you, leave." Latrell Sprewell, after making $14.6 million in the final year of his contract, was offered a $21 million contract extension. He replied with, "I got my family to feed." He turned down the offer and then went on to sign for the veterans minimum the very next season. Left hand, right hand, it doesn't matter, I'm amphibious. Charles Shackelford. I may never quite understand how Charles' handedness and his ability to live on land and on water are related, but all I know is I'm jealous. Michael Beasley, on an interview with Taylor Rooks, was talking about the human brain and the theory of us being only able to use 10% of our brain capacity. But his logic as to how the theory came about was probably one of the dumbest and the funniest things I've ever heard.
You can research the human brain and right?
Okay.
It says that we are only capable of using 10% of our brain, right?
Yes.
You believe that?
No, yeah.
Is you about to say it's true?
I'm saying that's what people say, that is the consensus
so
scientifically.
It's the consensus scientifically. So who was the guy that used 11 that made it okay to say everybody just using 10?
That isn't the right logic.
No.
The person who uses 10% of your brain is the one that said 10%.
No, because if you're only using 10% of your brain, you don't even know that you're using 10% of your brain.
Tyrese Thomas wasn't one of the more famous NBA players, was mostly a backup center for the most of his career, but he said this: "The sky is not the limit, it's the air with clouds in it." I'm not quite sure even he knew what that meant. "If you look at the box score, we won this game," said Paul George after a 102-90 loss to the Heat in the 2014 NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Derrick Rose was under a ton of heat during his rape trial, and in a testimony, I don't think he said exactly the best things. The question was, so they just said, hey, it's the middle of the night, let's go over to the plaintiff's house, and they never gave you a reason why they wanted to go there? Derrick replied with, we men, you can assume. Yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing to say during a rape trial. Meta World Peace, after being asked about why do the rookies call him Meta and the veterans call him Ron, said this.
Meta, I've been asking a bunch of players whether they call you Meta World Peace or Ron Artest now, and all the rookies say Meta, and all of the veterans say Ron. What's up with that? Is this some type of hazing?
Well, I'm most happy that Jesus Christ did not let me lose my teeth when I was 20 years old. Because I was wondering, like, what if you kept your baby teeth until the age of 18 or 20 and then you lose them? That would look pretty bad.
That would look really bad.
So I just think he's really brilliant that you lose your teeth when you're a baby rather than lose it when you're like 30 or 20. That has nothing to do with your question, but that was definitely on my mind.
That's what's going through Meta's mind right now.
I could probably play hours and hours worth of clips from Paul Pierce, but here's just a few.
We're just getting a taste of them. I'm like, I'm tired of getting a taste of them. I want the whole load.
But peak Heat Big Three or Celtics Big?
Easy. If we was all in our prime versus them in their prime.
Oh, here we go.
They would sit on no championships right now.
Both NBA Finals MVP. You have him in career points. He's got more playoff points. You are a more clutch shooter overall. He's got more playoff points. Paul, riddle me this. Who's the better NBA player?
That's easy. I can say that off the bat. That's me. If you give me Shaq, if you give me LeBron, they did. Call the Big Three. We got that late, but like early in my career.
What are you doing right now?
If you give me these guys early in my career.
Kevin Garnett talks a lot. One of his more famous lines was when he said anything is possible after winning the NBA championship in 2008. And he loved to make food metaphors, but this one just went on and didn't really make too much sense. In the year 2000, Kevin Garnett said this: if I was a Caesar salad, the croutons would be my friends, the lettuce would be my family, and the dressing itself would be my mom. Because you can have the lettuce and the croutons, it can be called a Caesar, but until you can have the dressing and it actually tastes like a Caesar. Then he just continued on about Caesar salads. Now Cobb salad, that's a different story. If I was a Cobb salad, my wife is the lettuce. No, sorry. My daughter is the lettuce. My wife is the bacon strips. My friend Steve is the avocado. Cassell and Tyloo are each a grape tomato. Tom is the chives and also the hard-boiled egg. All my childhood pets are the cheese. And my mom is the Caesar dressing. I asked for Caesar dressing on my Cobb salads. I'm not sure where KG was going with this quote, but he went as far as to correct himself as to who was the lettuce and who was the bacon. It didn't really make too much sense, but that is some serious dedication to the metaphor. Danny Green visited a Holocaust memorial while with the Spurs. It definitely wasn't the best picture to take at the time with that caption, but hey, you know he had to do it one time. In the 2018 NBA Finals, J.R. Smith did and said something I don't think no one will ever forget.
Now wanted a timeout, but too late to get it. And 5 minutes go up on the clock, overtime here in game one.
Nick Young, when asked about his goals for the 2014-15 NBA season, said, I might win MVP, or try to go for 6th Man of the Year, or Most Improved, or Defensive Player of the Year. I got robbed last year. Swaggy P, everyone. And this quote by Carmelo has basically been turned into a meme. But when asked about coming off the bench, Melo said this.
How do you feel about starting at the 4, or the concept of starting at the 4, or even coming off the bench? And the second question is...
Who, me?
Oh. I guess that answers that part.
I mean, I don't know where that started, where that came from. Hey, P, they said I got to come off the bench.
And now, he's out of the league. Y'all know how we have dogs and stuff, right? So I think it was bigger people in the world before us, and the dinosaurs was they pets. Jordan Clarkson said this on an interview on the Road Tripping podcast, and is honestly very Kyrie-esque. And honestly, you could say he was tripping himself. And speaking of Kyrie, pretty much everything he says is dumb these days. And that's it for the video, guys. If I missed any quotes that you feel like should have been in the video, comment them down below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, till next time.